recent weeks, I have spoken to many of our sickle cell patients, and obviously the topic of the coronavirus vaccine has been central in all those consultations. I cannot emphasize enough how important I consider it to be in keeping our sickle population safe. The COVID-19 pandemic is causing millions of deaths worldwide, and on top of that, it is bringing isolation and loneliness and financial distress, and it is widening pre-existing socioeconomic and racial inequalities in our society. It is very important for our patients to be vaccinated because we know very well that COVID-19 affects much more severely those with pre-existing conditions such as sickle cell disease. To add to that, we know from the first wave of the pandemic that patients of Black and Asian backgrounds are at a much higher risk for developing severe complications or dying if infected by COVID-19. Now, I know that there are many theories out there against the vaccine, ranging from some reasonable questions that do have answers to some completely outlandish scenarios. I'm not going to comment on any of those. All I will say is that this is the time for all of us to use our common sense and face facts as they really are. And for what it's worth, I can tell you that I was very excited having the first dose of my vaccine a few days ago, as you can see in this rather unflattering photo, and I look forward to having my second dose in a few weeks. Now, I really want to thank our sickle cell patients for recording messages for their fellow patients. Please hear them out.
Hi everyone, my name is June Okochi. I live with sickle cell disease. Recently, I tested positive for COVID, and that was one of the most terrifying times in my life because given my history of acute chest syndromes, I was absolutely terrified that it could trigger that, and I would end up in hospital and on a ventilator. Thank God I was fine. I had mild symptoms and I feel better now. But I can imagine many people with sickle cell and other debilitating health conditions, face anxieties every single day about contracting COVID, and its impact is obviously very different for all of us. I am going to take the vaccine, the COVID vaccine. I have been summoned by my GP to book myself in, and I would just like to encourage everyone in the sickle community to ensure that they get the vaccine if they're called. Why is it important? Sickle cell is bad enough. A lot of us are dealing with really dire complications, and we know the impact on our health and our well-being. Let's not compound things by contracting COVID, and God forbid, it could be really dire. We know the pandemic has had a really devastating impact on Black and Asian communities. Let's not widen that gap. We already face severe health inequalities in the sickle community. We need to build our communities. We need to build healthy communities. You might think the winter's coming to an end soon and I'll be fine, I don't need the vaccine. But COVID is here to stay. There are going to be subsequent winters. There are other variants coming up. We just need to be aware of that and ensure that we're protected.
Hello, my name is Queen Isiche. I am a pharmacist and I am also a patient. I've actually just had my vaccine done. I couldn't film myself in the centre because it was quite busy. But just a quick word to let everybody know how important this vaccine is for us. We're not going to get over this pandemic without it. Please look after your health. Don't believe any conspiracy. I'm a pharmacist, and if I thought anything was off about the whole vaccination, I wouldn't have done it. But please look after your health and please get vaccinated.
Hello. Morning. Actually afternoon. I'm here to have a little chat with you about the COVID-19 vaccination. My name is Shagan Ario, or Olusegun, but most people call me Shagan. And my I've got sickle cell. I got HBSS diagnosed. HBSS. I've had was diagnosed when I was 6 months, as I was told by my mom. Um, and I'm doing this video to say I'm gonna be getting the COVID-19 vaccination. Um, Reason being, as I said, I've got sickle cell. I already drew the short straw in my family, coming out with the only child of 5 brothers with sickle cell. So everything has been an uphill battle all my life. I've had to walk 5 times harder just to get the same thing that everybody else gets, because I need to make amends for days when I'm not gonna be okay. So you need to have extras.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm 49 and I have sickle cell disorder, SC, and I will be taking the vaccine. Now, sickle cell has impacted me greatly over the years. It's affected my hips. I had my right hip replaced on November the 2nd, and I will be having my left one done sometimes this year. I lost sight in my left eye when I was 20 through detached retina, and lost my sight in my right eye when I was about 40, and they managed to save some of it, praise be. My spleen disappeared when I was about 13. My gallbladder was removed when I was 43 or something, a few years ago now. All sickle related. Obviously, like maybe many of you, I think sickle has impacted on my mental health as well. I've been seeing a counsellor on and off for the last 20 years, and that's been a big influence on me for the good, because I'm now a counsellor myself.
Hi everyone, my name's Blessing. I have sickle cell anemia. That's my primary condition. I also have Kikuchi-Fujimoto disease, which is an autoimmune disorder which causes severe adverse effects. And I also, because of the Kikuchi, I have recently developed arthritis. And I know a lot of people within the sickle community are also suffering with multiple conditions. And I know that a lot of you have more than just sickle cell to contend with. Recently, I was ill, really ill. Thank gosh it wasn't COVID. It was just a normal virus. But just that virus alone was really difficult to deal with. I was really, really ill for over a month and a half and could barely do anything. And I hate to think what would happen to myself and to so many of you out there if you were to contract COVID. It could be devastating to your health, and possibly the consequences could be dire. Recently, I was made aware that I am in the 4th tier to get my COVID vaccine. And as soon as I found that out, I was on the phone with my GP, and I've been trying to get them to move me up the tier so that I could get my COVID vaccine sooner rather than later. As you know, a lot of us have been dealing with lockdowns, isolation, and that can be really horrible for our mental health, as well as for, just for your sickle cell as well, not being able to go out, not being able to see your friends, not being able to exercise or do the things that you normally do, not being able to live, basically, just simply existing. And I want to get out of this cycle of lockdowns as soon as possible. And for me, that means taking my vaccination and having the vaccination as soon as possible.
I know a lot of people are doing videos and everything's all doom and gloom and stuff like that, but I'm more of a be optimistic kind of person. Like, look at it from my angle. You don't have to believe me, but it'll be nice if you do. When the pandemic finishes, what's going to happen is people are going to need to travel. And because we've been cooped up at home for a very long time. And for that reasons, you're going to be, most people would want to go to hot climate and all them stuff, or places like that, which do not have the kind of healthcare system that we have in the United Kingdom. And if you're someone with sickle cell and you already have a low immune system already, and maybe you're not really using your vitamin Ds as being instructed and all the other stuff that you should be using, like your antibiotics and stuff, then you're at a higher risk of catching something and getting something. I'd rather protect myself than leave it to chance.
My name is Floyd Thomas. I've got sickle cell disease and I'm classified as an high-risk patient. So in the case of me contracting the coronavirus, I'm obviously gonna get very unwell, or worst case scenario, might die. That's why I'll be taking the coronavirus vaccine.
Hi guys, Yasina here. I'm HBSS patient as well as renal patient as well. This year's been quite a challenging year for most of us going through this pandemic. And I know that a few of us, including myself, has been touched directly from this COVID-19. I've lost 2 members of my family during this past year. I do understand there's a lot of concerns around having the vaccine, a lot of stories going around, some of them quite scary really, to think of the things that are being put out there and that are being said. But let's be sensible here. At the end of the day, we are in a very high risk category, just with sickle cell alone. And I know most of us have other underlying health problems as well as sickle cell, so we need to take this very seriously. I'm going to have the vaccine. It's a decision I made. Obviously I thought about it like a few people do. A bit of concerns around the whole process of the vaccine, it being a new vaccine, etc., etc., understandably, but I really don't believe that we're going to get something that's being created by these experts to cause us harm. We are at a higher risk anyway, so let's be sensible and be safe and be smart. Protect ourselves, protect our peers and our loved ones, and also to protect the healthcare professionals who are taking the time out to care for us and putting themselves at risk every day to care for us patients. So let's be sensible, let's be smart, and have the vaccine. It's the only sensible thing to really do. just to protect yourselves.
I know a lot of you are nervous about the COVID vaccine, and I just want to reassure you, just like we take penicillin V, to protect us against infections, just like we take our flu vaccines every year. I hope you have your flu vaccines every year anyway. And just like we take pneumovax vaccines and, MMR vaccines, this new vaccination isn't something that is going to have an adverse effect on your health. It's something that's going to help you. It's something that's going to help you get back to your normal life, to your normal routines, and it's something that will help us stay healthy and well. And unfortunately for us, it might be the only thing that will ensure that we can get back to our normal lives. So I really hope that you're not looking to the internet for answers on the COVID vaccine, because unfortunately, the internet isn't the best place to find answers when it comes to illnesses. The internet can be a scary place when it comes to illnesses, and it can compound those fears rather than ease them. So rather than, listening to conspiracy theories and being really scared of this vaccine, I hope that you will see that this is the best way for you to get your health, your life, and your normal routines back on track.
I hope everyone can understand that there are numbers of misconceptions out there about the vaccine. So please, let's educate ourselves. The facts are there. You have the NHS to go to, you have your doctors to contact, nurses. If you need information, do not believe what is being circulated around the internet. It's not true. So yeah, I really hope everyone can look out for each other and ensure that we can protect ourselves from this really horrific virus, and live healthy lives. Thanks.
United Kingdom is spending a lot of money buying this vaccination, and economically, you don't need to take my word for it. I'm just going to switch to my screen a little bit. I'm a trader, and I know for a fact that the United Kingdom will need all hands on deck to try and bring this economy back to life. And really and truly, they're not in the position to say, this group, we're not gonna give them the right vaccination. That group they're gonna give them the right vaccination. They can't do that. They can't afford to do that. Even if they want to, they can't. Really and truly, you really don't have any reasons to say you don't want to get the vaccination. So please, I'm begging everyone in the sickle cell community, plus a Black ethnic minority or ethnic group, please protect yourself. When the call comes for you to get the vaccination, please go get your vaccination, get protected, and live to fight another day. That's what I want to speak to you guys about. I'm Segun Ariyo, and I'll be getting my COVID-19 vaccination when I get my call. Thank you.
Now, I can understand why some of us might be suspicious about this vaccine, because the medical profession has done some heinous things to Black people over the years. The father of modern gynecology operated on slave women without anaesthetic, and made many breakthroughs. There was one woman, the woman that he used the most, he operated on her 30 times over the course of her life, 30 times. And, I think about things like the Tuskegee 400 and the fact that they thought it was okay to let syphilis run rampant amongst 400 Black men just to see what it would do. And when penicillin was found to be a cure, they didn't give it to them. They just let the syphilis carry on doing its thing. So there have been some heinous and inhuman crimes against us, specifically. that mean that I understand why we would be suspicious, we could be suspicious of anything that the medical profession seems to be pushing our way, or pharmaceutical companies seem to be pushing our way. But I also think that if the vaccine was necessarily going to be a problem or danger, they wouldn't be rolling it out to all their health professionals first, would they? Because they're the front line, and you don't want to kill or like damage your front line against a pandemic in the middle of a pandemic. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I've read some more weird things, seen some weird things about some nanotechnology in the vaccine, you know, and Bill Gates is doing it so he can track us. And I'm thinking that you're probably like reading or seeing about this stuff on your phone, aren't you? And if you think about it, the phone is the thing that they can track us with. It knows exactly where we are all the times, and you know, if you look in your Google Maps history, it knows exactly where you are. If you go online, it knows exactly what you want to buy. There's reasons for that. We're already being tracked. That future is here already. So, you know, it's like the vaccine is possibly an opportunity for us to like get closer as human beings again with each other, and to share and to socialize, because we are at our heart social beings, as I keep saying to my clients. It's like we need each other. And while I love my son and my son loves us, it's just been the three of us for like almost a year now, and that's crazy. Yeah, we need more than just that. It takes a village to raise a child. And you know, those problems that we have that are systemic, with outcomes in education, health, job attainment, career progression, criminal justice, etc. They're, you know, health, our race is tied up in those things, and it is important to acknowledge them and be aware of them. But they're things that maybe we can get together as a society and as a group of people of color to fight. And yeah, it's like if you're very suspicious of the vaccine, there's probably other reasons for that suspicion tied up in other things. That's a bit of my counselor self coming out there, but there's possibly a truth to that. And yeah, I'm going to take it happily. And I hope that most of you come to similar decisions, because I think the risk of not taking it and possibly catching COVID and dealing with the effects of that might be far worse. Anyway, take care. Peace.
I've been asked to say a few words about vaccination and why it's so important that we all have the coronavirus vaccine. The beginning of the vaccination story was some 200 years ago, when an English doctor called Edward Jenner proved conclusively that vaccination could protect people against the deadly effects of smallpox. Smallpox was then a highly infectious viral disease which had ravaged the world for centuries, killing 30% of those infected, and in the 20th century alone being responsible for the deaths of an estimated 3 to 5 million people worldwide. Remarkably, in 1979, by a huge vaccination campaign, the scourge of smallpox was eradicated and the virus exterminated. A fantastic public health triumph which has spared countless people from death and disfigurement. Since then, vaccines have been produced to over 28 different infectious diseases, including polio, diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, and measles. Like smallpox, these diseases are now rare, and very few of us will ever have experienced them. But not so very long ago, they were the leading cause of childhood mortality. My mother and her sister, who grew up in the East End of London, nearly died of diphtheria as young children, and my uncle, their brother, was permanently paralysed in one leg as a consequence of childhood polio. The fact that for us these infections are ancient history is all down to the benefits of vaccination. There are many different types of vaccine, but they all basically work in the same way, by stimulating our immune system to produce antibodies and activated T cells against the invading bacteria or virus. In the case of COVID-19, the antibodies and T cells are directed against the so-called spike protein, which is the part of the virus which latches onto the cells in our nose and in our lungs, allowing it to gain entry. In addition, after vaccination, the immune system also produces long-lived memory cells, which, if they are exposed to the COVID virus at any time in the future, trigger an explosive production of large quantities of antibody and activated T cells. And it is this accelerated response which neutralizes the spike protein on the surface of the virus, blocks infection, and protects the individual from illness and possibly from death. But there is also another way in which vaccination is protective. Over the last year, you will all have heard talk of herd immunity. If you vaccinate large numbers of people in a population, the transmission of the virus from person to person is slowed right down, and circulation of the virus in the community is reduced to very low levels. In this way, by reducing exposure to the virus, people who have yet to be vaccinated or who, for whatever reason, cannot be vaccinated are also protected. Vaccine production and distribution is generally a very slow process. The measles vaccine, for example, took at least 10 years to develop, and it took more than 50 years to vaccinate enough children around the world against polio to bring the disease to the brink of eradication. Seen in this light, the production of several effective and safe COVID-19 vaccines in less than a year, and then vaccinating some 6% of the UK population in just a few weeks, is a remarkable scientific and public health achievement, which I, for one, thought was quite impossible a few months ago. Although we should all celebrate the undoubted success of the COVID-19 vaccines, all highly effective at protecting against the disease with only a very few minor side effects, there are some important questions which remain unanswered. For example, we don't know yet whether the vaccine prevents people passing on the infection to others, and also we don't know how long protection lasts for, how long those little memory cells survive. Nevertheless, I, for one, will have my sleeve rolled up, ready and waiting for the summons to receive the vaccine, and I very much hope that you will too. Just like all those terrible diseases from the past, vaccination offers a prospect of beating the pandemic and confining COVID-19 to history. Goodbye, stay safe, and please get vaccinated.